Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining in. Okay, so let's begin. So, welcome to the briefing session for the PMP workshop, guys. Generally, what we do is we do these sessions on an ongoing basis, and the objective of this session is to brief you guys about what to expect in the actual workshop. And I know a lot of you guys have questions around. It could be the exam, it could be the workshop content, what to expect, and all of that. So, which is why we do this session, and hopefully, I should be able to answer your questions. If you have any questions, raise your hands and I'll unmute you, and then feel free to ask your question instead of just writing it down. Okay, so I'm also going to be the trainer for the workshop. Here's my bit of a background. So I've been an HCM professional for the last 20 years. I don't know how many of you know HCM. HCM stands for Human Capital Management. So I'm working currently for Ceridian, and I'm working as a senior consulting manager. And uh, my day-to-day life revolves around projects basically, and I'm working on the implementations for our HCM cloud HCM product called as Dayforce, and that's precisely what I've been doing since the last 7 years. And before that, I was also into project management, but with a different organization. Uh, Now, the reason I kind of am able to relate with whatever PMI recommends in the form of their good practices is I try to borrow a lot of those things into my day-to-day work life, and as you can see, I do a lot of collaboration with people, not just within Mauritius, but I've got teams in Philippines, I've got teams in Canada, US. All my customers are based out of North America, so there's a lot of interaction. There's a lot of collaboration that goes on with a lot of teams. So communication is really the foundation of all these things. Um, so what I have done for today's session is I don't have a set agenda as such, but what I'll do is based on my previous experience, I will walk you through a lot of things that are related to the workshop, how you can get the most out of by attending this workshop. I'll also try and throw some numbers at you. What kind of things you should look at by attaining the PMP certification at first place itself. So there'll be a lot of things. We will also try and touch on as many pointers as possible. But as I said, there's no set agenda. So if at any point you feel like you haven't really understood anything, or you have a specific question, raise your hand, and I'll give you the opportunity to talk in front of the group. Okay, so as usual, the first question that should come to your mind, and I'm sure you must have done your research around this topic, is why PMP to begin with. And again, as I said, most of these things that you'll see today are around the experience that I have gathered over the past several years. It's also based on some of the experiences I have seen during the workshop. Quite a few of our participants have completed their certification. Now they have started to realize the value of certification. So a lot of these things are coming straight from the field in a way. So as you can see, the basic objective of a certification like PMP. PMP, by the way, stands for Project Management Professional. I'm sure you must be aware of it. To me, the single biggest advantage of this certification is it is going to help you getting organized, and the direct impact it is going to have on the project, because as a project manager you are expected to be on top of the project when it comes to all the activities. Now you'll obviously have a lot of things going on a day-to-day basis on your projects, but as I said, communication is going to be the key. Now what I mean by communication is not just scheduling meetings and sending emails. There's a lot of other things that also go um, beyond just sending emails and attending meetings, which are a part of communication. But at a high level, I think that's what the essence is. It's extremely helpful in getting you guys organized in order to run your projects more effectively. And what we do during the workshop is, I'll be sharing a lot of real life examples which will help you to relate to some of these things. So before we proceed, I'm just going to show you a video of what other benefits of the certification are and what exactly you can expect. So just going to start this video.
There's been a lot of benefits that the PMP certification has brought to me personally. The first is it's increased my earning ability.
When I took my position at Comcast, it was a $40,000 pay increase because I was the only applicant with a PMP.
I've been offered opportunities I would never have otherwise if I did not have the PMP.
I was able to earn more because my clients had more confidence in me to take on bigger and better projects.
And my advice to those who are considering PMP is get it. It is worth it. You're going to have a great return on your investment.
There's been a lot of benefits that the PMP.
There you go. So I think a lot of the focus of these guys was around the pay that they get, and that is obviously one of the benefits that you could get by having a certification like PMP. Now, obviously, if you think that as soon as you get your PMP certification, the very next day, very next week, very next month, your manager is going to come and hand over the next promotion, that is not going to happen. So the way it works is you will first have to apply the concepts that you learn in the workshop, apply the things, the good practices that PMI recommends into your day-to-day activities. You have to bring a value to the business by demonstrating all the knowledge and the skills that you have gathered. Once you demonstrate that value to the business, then in return, the business is going to give you some value. It is going to be in the form of a pay raise. It is going to be in the form of a promotion. It is going to be in the form of new opportunities. So that is how the cycle works. Just by having a PMP certification is not going to be of any benefit. You have to first demonstrate why you should be given that promotion, or why you should be given those new opportunities through the value that you will be bringing to the business. To me, since the last few years, there's a lot of stress on the entire value chain. It's actually one of the topics that we have in the workshop is what value a certification like a PMP or a PMP certified project manager brings to the business, to the organization. Just as we have the whole concept of what value a project brings to the business. Like, why do you think the projects that are being executed by the business, by the organizations, should be done at first place? So there's a lot of importance. There's a lot of importance or a stress which is given on the whole value concept, and that's exactly what you have to demonstrate to your company, to your organizations first, before you could expect something in return. So that's how the whole cycle works. But on an average, what we have observed is someone who has the PMP certification, someone who has the working knowledge, the working application of the various concepts on their day-to-day work, I think you automatically stand out within your team, within your group, within your department, and that's how you are able to make that difference. I don't know how many of you guys know the term USP. Does anyone understand the term USP? If anyone is coming from a sales background, USP basically stands for a unique selling point. So to me, a certification like a PMP is going to bring that USP to your career, to your profile, to your resume. And once you have that USP, you should be able to stand out in the group. And that's how it is going to benefit you in terms of promotion, in terms of pay rise, in terms of new opportunities, in terms of bigger projects coming to you. And basically that's going to enhance your career growth. So that's really the premise of why you should be doing PMP. I'm sure everyone will have their own set of reasons as to why they want to achieve a certification like PMP, and we generally talk about it at length in the workshop. Um, Now, who should be the right audience for the workshop? Now, if you look at the various certifications that are given by or provided by PMI, Project Management Institute, they actually cover a lot of different areas about the business. You know, there's projects, there's programs, there's portfolios. A lot of emphasis is now being laid on the whole agile concept. There's a bunch of certifications on disciplined agile. So there's a lot of things to be done in the entire project management zone. But the standout thing about PMP is it is a certification with the help of which you could really stand out in any horizontal, any vertical, in any part of the globe. It's a global certification. Second, the concepts can be applied, as I said, to any industries. And as you see on the screen, it could be applied by multiple team members. You don't need to be a formal project manager. You don't need to be a formal manager. Even a person at the level of a team member can hugely contribute based on the knowledge that you guys would gain out of this PMP certification or the workshop in general. But by and large, it's applicable for professionals. It's applicable for entrepreneurs. It's applicable for government, education. You name it, you get the advantage. I think that's the important thing that a certification like PMP offers. Later in the deck, I'll also give you some numbers globally within Mauritius, just to give you some context of how the entire certification or the PMP certification scenario is kind of just getting or skyrocketing in a way. And once you look at the numbers, I think it's going to be fairly clear. Um, Now, what I generally do in the workshop, and what you see on the screen right now, is again coming from the experience that I've had by conducting these workshops over the past few years. A lot of it is coming from my own experience, but by and large, and again, we'll discuss quite a few things during the workshop itself. But as I said, the two or three main things that you should look at is, one is, it is going to help you in getting organized. It will help you in building your own USP. That will help you to stand out in your group, in your department, in your business. But apart from that, there are also certain other things that we look at during the workshop. And I don't know if you're aware of it, but the PMP exam itself, it's a 4-hour exam, and you have to attempt 180 questions. Now, what it means is, although it might seem fairly straightforward numbers, like 4 hours, 180 questions, I can assure you that those 4 hours are extremely critical, because you don't have to just attempt the exam, but there's a lot of focus required. There's a lot of attention. You have to read very carefully. You have to analyze the given scenario. You have to think about what could be the different options, and out of all those, you have to then select the right answer. So again, one of the things that we discuss during the workshop is, we also want you to go back into that habit of sitting at one place with full concentration, trying to analyze, solve problems, look at what other options are there, and then picking up the right answer, which will then help you in passing the exam. And obviously, you've got other opportunities like networking with other people from different industries. That will also help you to gain expertise in a way by exchanging each other's ideas. I think collaboration is also going to be the key. So the more you collaborate, the more you share your experiences, I think that's how we are going to get more benefit from this workshop. I also ask my guys to, think a lot in this workshop, and I generally encourage the guys to think loud, because what also happens is, because each of us are coming from different backgrounds with varied set of experiences, sometimes we start thinking that if you have to attempt a problem, if you have to analyze a problem, if you have to come up with a solution, then based on your own experiences, you start getting a sense that this is how it should be done, or this is how it is generally done. And 8 out of 10 times, you also have a different way of looking at those scenarios, those problems. And that is where I mentioned that you first need to unlearn some of the concepts, and then you start learning some of the good or the recommended practices from PMI. I'll give you a simple example. I'll just throw a question. How many of you guys have either worked on a tool like MS Project, or how many of you have looked at an Excel spreadsheet that gives you, the task name, the start date, end date, who's going to do those activities? It's basically, what we do generally at our day-to-day activities. Has anyone looked at this kind of a tool, or this kind of a spreadsheet where you have those things mentioned? Anyone? Just raise your hand. Yeah. Okay. Good. So Vitish has, okay, quite a few of them have done that or seen that in their day-to-day lives. You just might want to open your chat and mention what do you generally call that spreadsheet or the MS project thing that you work on. Anyone? What is the day-to-day name that you use for that spreadsheet? What is the day-to-day name that you might be calling that spreadsheet within your organization? Just type in your answers. Yes, anyone? Okay, so again, I'll go with my own example. I used to call that spreadsheet as a project plan, where you have the tasks list mentioned, or what is the task, the start date, end date, or the planned start date, planned end date, who's going to be working on that, the actual start, actual end date. So that spreadsheet we generally used to call as a project plan. If you look at what the PMI recommends, this is not a project plan. What you see on that spreadsheet, or what you see on that MS project .mpp file, it is just a timeline of your project. It's just a schedule of your project. So the next question you might have is, okay, if that's a schedule, then what is a project plan? Well, a project plan is basically a combination of a lot of other plans that we have, as we generally call them as knowledge area plans. So uh, the MS Project tool is basically a scheduling software. It is going to help you in tracking the timelines of your project. So basically, what you see on MS Project or a spreadsheet is the timeline. But often we end up calling it as a project plan. Why? Because everybody else in our organization calls it as a project plan. So these are the kind of tweaks that you get to learn in this workshop, and these are little things. These are simple things that you get to apply in your day-to-day work, and that's how you are able to make a difference. And that's how, if you remember what one of the guys said, is it just gives the confidence to our customers that, okay, my project is in able hands, and then that's how they are going to add value to the project, and in turn, obviously, we will have the value coming back to us. Yeah. So Jeremy said that it's a project management plan, but what PMI says is what you see on MS Project or that spreadsheet is not the project management plan. Project management plan is something else. So again, the idea was to give you a glimpse of what all things you would be unlearning and then learning based on the content. Okay, chat is currently disabled. So, Namita, could you please help me in enabling the chat? Looks like the chat is disabled.
The Q&A section is on. Let me see with the chat. I can do something.
Okay, Rajesh, you might want to type in your question in the Q&A instead of the chat. Sorry, my bad. I should have said it as Q&A instead of chat. Yeah, okay, thanks. But yeah, the basic idea of sharing this with you was to give you a glimpse of what kind of tweaks and what kind of changes you could expect in your day-to-day working. At the end of the day, I'll also try to give you the right mindset with which you could go and approach your work. The other big takeaway from this workshop is obviously going to be the entire knowledge base that you will gain from the course content. There's a bunch of training materials that we will be giving. There's a book that will come to you. So the idea here is you learn the concepts, you apply as many things as possible to your day-to-day life, and then the preparation of exam is a different piece which we will look at, and then passing the exam then becomes a byproduct. So the more things you're able to apply in your day-to-day activities, that's how you get an opportunity to learn new things, and that's how it'll extremely be helpful in sitting and passing an exam like PMP. So that's the objective we will be looking at. What I have also found personally is, after I kind of started applying some of these things in my professional life, it also made a lot of sense. It also added a lot of value when I started doing some of these things in my personal or non-professional, non-work related activities, and it helped me tremendously. We'll also look at some of those kind of examples in our workshop, in our interactions. So do not limit yourself for or from applying these PMI, PMP concepts to your professional life, but there are a lot of things I can assure you which you can go back and also apply to your personal lives in obviously doing various other things. So that is something which we will also look at in the workshop. And as I said, at the end of it, it is going to help you in becoming a good professional, effective, efficient, productive. So all these things will be looking at. Uh, just moving on and adding on to what you should expect in the workshop. So I've just kind of listed on the details of the training materials that you will get as part of this workshop. So there are two sets of training materials that you will be getting. One is coming from ProThoughts, and the other one is coming directly from PMI in the form of a training portal access that you will be getting. There's also a Rita Mulkaki exam preparation book that we will be giving as part of the workshop. The book costs about $100 US, and the PMI training material access is roughly about $70. So 100 plus 70 is the direct cost of both these items. What we also do during this workshop is we'll be doing a lot of game-based activities just to try and keep the group engaged throughout the 4 days. We will also try and attempt 180 exam type questions, and guess what? That's the number of questions you will get in the PMP examination. So we'll also try and solve those many questions. I'll also try and give you some additional questions that you can take it back and solve it as and when you have some times. I'll also give you some online tools and games that you can help, or that will help you in measuring your preparation or measuring how much you have studied or how much more you need to study. So all of those things will be shared during the workshop. We'll also be doing a lot of group techniques. Now, the challenge in doing all these things is really the time that we have. So if we are able to plan and execute all of these things properly during the 4 days, then there's a lot of things to be done. There's an opportunity to do a case study, a case scenario. So we've done all of these things in the past, and one of the things that I'll also do is I will have a live interaction with the group from some of our previous participants who have taken the exam, who have passed the exam in the first attempt with above target bands in all the three domains, the people, process, business domain. So you will also get an opportunity to interact live. So I'll be getting someone from our previous batches and putting those guys in front of you. It could be one of the lunches, or a small evening break on one of the days, but you get that opportunity to interact live with those guys and ask them the questions, because they have also attended this same workshop and then taken the exam later. So all of these things will happen during the workshop as well. So with that, that's what you should expect from the workshop. So a lot of interaction, a lot of collaboration, a lot of new concepts, trying to build some new habits of sitting at one place, focusing. It will try and help you and polish some of your skills. It will also build your own USP. But you have to achieve that, then there's obviously some sort of an investment that you will be required to do. So the investments I generally talk are at two levels. One is from a time and effort, and second is obviously the cost, because there's some cost associated with taking the exam, taking the workshop, and enrolling yourself for this workshop. So from a time perspective, time and effort, obviously this workshop is going to be for 4 days. So 2 consecutive weekends, Saturday, Sunday, and then the following Saturday, Sunday. We generally do these sessions at the Soufrian Hotel and in Port Louis. That's our venue for doing these sessions. Post this workshop, I also want a dedicated effort from all of you for a period of between 3 and 4 months, 2 hours every day, which is where it will test you as a professional, because there's quite a few things to be done. There's a book to be looked at, which I mentioned in the previous slide. It's a Rita Mulkaki book. You solve as many questions as possible, and at the end of it, we can assure you that you will pass the exam first attempt, above target, in all 3 domains. And that's something we take huge pride. We have had at least 20 to 25 people who have taken the exam in the last 4 to 6 months, and none of them have failed in their first attempt. That's a 7% record. All of them have passed. We just had one participant who passed the exam, I think on the 15th or 16th of January. So we have got a lot of success stories that you can also share. We'll also share with you, and then you can also interact with these guys. I can share the numbers, and you can reach out to these guys directly and talk to them. From a cost perspective, there's 2 types of cost that you will have to invest in. One is obviously the workshop fees, and second is the examination fees. Now, what we do is, for the workshop fees, it is something that Rajesh will coordinate with you. If you're a self-sponsored participant, then there's a certain cost, and if you're HRDC or coming from your organization or business sponsorship, then there's a slightly different cost, because then HRDC is also going to interact with Rajesh, and he'll be required to do some additional paperwork and all of that. Post the workshop, we also have got special packages from ProThoughts, where we give you a combination of exam fees plus 1 year PMI membership, and that cost you about 20,000 Mauritian rupees. If you try and get this from outside at an individual level, like exam fees plus the membership fees, then it's slightly going to be on the higher side. But what PMI does is because ProThoughts is an authorized training partner, PMI generally passes certain discount to ProThoughts, and what we do is we pass on that discount straight to the participants, because they have taken the ProThoughts and Finanotech workshop. So that is the cost, and as we had mentioned in our webinar poster, all of you guys who attend today's session and who enroll within the next 1 day with Rajesh, you get a spot discount of 1,000 rupees immediately. So irrespective of if you are a self-sponsored or HRDC sponsored, you get that 1,000 rupees discount, and it is only applicable for this batch. So anyone outside of this batch enrolling for any of the batches will not get this 1,000 rupees discount. So that's the the investment, I generally call it. I don't call it as a cost, because this is an investment, and I believe if this investment is kind of done properly, then there's a huge value that you get, not just for 1 year or 2 years. It's probably for your rest of the life. So that's the the slide you should be making a note of. With that, I'm just going to take a pause here. Does anyone have any questions? Please raise your hand, and I'll enable you on the voice chat, and then not on the voice chat, but on the chat itself, and you can ask the question live to me instead of typing. So just checking with the group if anyone has any questions. Rajesh, do you want to add anything else? Okay, so yeah, so if you compare it with some of the other service providers out in the market, the general on the average rate is anywhere between 50 and 60K Mauritian rupees. So we also have got a cost point, and there's a lot of things that we offer to our participants. The other thing that we also offer, and we've started doing this for the last few batches, is once your workshop is done, what we do is we create a WhatsApp group of all the participants in that batch, and then that batch actually prepares for the exam together as a group. And very recently, in the last few months, uh, those groups have started to meet outside of the workshop, and they're just kind of collaborating as a group. And what I do is I also go and join them, and if they have any questions, if there's any real quick topic that needs a refresher, I go there and I kind of do those interactions with the guys. So we will also help you guys outside of this workshop. So my scope is not just these 4 days of workshop, but I'll be assisting you in those kind of interactions. I'll assist you in filling the application form. If there's any questions, you can pick up the phone, call me, and we can get that sorted. So our kind of commitment is not just for those 4 days, but I'll be with you right from the day you register for this workshop till the time you pass your PMP exam, and we also support you in gathering PDUs and basically maintaining your schedule. So Arvind has a question: when is the next training intake? So I'll just share that slide. It's coming up. So we have got two batches upcoming. One is in February, and then the other one is in end of March, beginning of no, sorry, end of April, beginning of May kind of time frame. I'll share those details if you have a slide in that. Okay, is it better to do an MSc project management or PMP? Can you share opinions on both? Okay, good question. So I personally was involved in not an MSc course, but I was personally involved in one of the courses that has been offered by Open University right now. I don't know how many of you guys have heard, but there's an MBA in specialization in project management. That's the course which Open University is offering right now, and I was kind of there, one of the board members who designed and devised that course. I used to teach those guys for 2 semesters, well, 4 semesters actually, 2 years. And what I have found is a degree like an MBA or like an MSc project management covers all the aspects of general management, which includes project management. So there's going to be strategic business, there's going to be general management, there's going to be accounting, there's going to be project management. So it is like a full offering of all these project management plus other management activities. Now the only drawback is, because there are so many things to be covered in those 4 semesters or 2 years, they don't really go into a lot of depth, a lot of details into each of these activities. And this is where a certification like PMP is going to help you. A PMP certification is more of a day-to-day working application of the project management concepts. That's how I'll put it in simple words. But obviously, a PMP is a certification at the end of the day, whereas an MSc or an MBA is a master's degree. So at that level, it is not going to compete with an MSc or an MBA, because you're not actually comparing an apple to apple here. If you're purely looking from a knowledge application perspective and getting that value back immediately, a certification like PMP is going to enhance you. If you're looking at adding a degree to your resume, then MBA or MSc in project management is the course that I will suggest. But based on my experience, all the participants that I have interacted with so far, they are really looking to solve the day-to-day problems that they deal with at projects, at their workplace, or in general when they're working. And this is where PMP is extremely beneficial for those guys. But as I said, it's really unfair to compare a certification with a management degree or a master's degree or MSc, as someone just mentioned. So both of them will have its own plus and minuses, but a certification like PMP will give you the immediate knowledge in a shorter period of time. MSc, remember, MBA or MSc is going to be an investment of minimum of 2 years. Unlike a PMP certification, you only need to invest about, let's say, 4 to 5 months, and then you should be through with it. And then that's how it is going to be quickly beneficial to you. So Jerry is asking, will you also to fill in the application? Absolutely. So I'll be there with you to help you guys in filling the application form. I'll actually go through the eligibility criteria. I've got a slide right after this, so just hold on. Let's go to that slide straight away. So what PMI has done is there's two eligibility criteria in a way that they want. So anyone who wants to take or wants to sit for the PMP exam, one, they will be validating your educational background. So depending on if it's a 3-year degree or a 4-year degree, they also ask a certain number of working experience, or as you see here, it's either a 36 months working experience or a 60 months. So 3 years or 5 years, depending on what degree you have. And sorry, on top of that, then this 35 hours workshop is the second criteria, which you need to fill in the details when you're applying for the PMP certification. So that's the first kind of step to confirm your eligibility. Now, although it might say it's either a 4-year degree or a high school or diploma or a second school diploma, anything else apart from a 4-year degree in a college automatically qualifies in the second criteria, which is your high school. So it could be a 3-year science degree, it could be a high level high school diploma, it could be a secondary school. Anything apart from the 4-year college degree is considered as a second criteria. The other question I generally get asked is, if I've done a 3-year degree and then I've done a 2-year MBA, the bigger one of the two is generally considered as an eligibility criteria. So 3 years of engineering or science plus 2 years of MBA doesn't make it 4 or 5 years of the total education that you have. So it will generally go with the degree which has got more time commitment, or 3-year or 4-year, depending on what course you have done. So that's the first criteria. And then the second one is obviously anyone who's wanting to take or sit for the PMP certification. You also need to take this 35-hour contact workshop, or the workshop that we're just talking about. So I'll just go through the questions. There's quite a few coming in. Will a PMP add immediate value in the work of engineering in the building services sector? Absolutely. So to me, construction is one area, or the building services sector is one area where there is immediate kind of value that you can see. And I can again give you n number of examples where people have gone from this workshop. Some of them have taken the exam, some of them are kind of in preparation for the exam, but just by making tweaks to their day-to-day activities, they have found tremendous value in the way they carry out their work. As I said, they found themselves more organized. Their overall communication was also much better, not because they were not good communicators, but after going through this workshop, or gathering some of these concepts, they absolutely knew what is the right amount of information, what is the right amount of data that has to be shared with the right audience. Sometimes we have the habit of sharing anything and everything with the entire group, which is not really the required in this case. So all of these things are taken into consideration. And construction, as I said, a lot of our guys have completed the exam. Some of them are in the process of preparing, but we do have a lot of participants from the construction industry, and they do find this course extremely helpful. Okay, so Anusha is asking, how many hours of project management hours do we need to be eligible for PMP, and how do you define a project management hours? Do we need a project manager if you have been working mainly in support team? Okay, good question. So although this slide mentions, and I've just taken this from the PMI website, although it says that
Sir,
36
sorry
months.
to interrupt. I don't
Yeah,
think
go
the
on.
screen's visible.
Oh, screen is not visible? Oh. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, my bad. So although this slide mentions that you need to have 36 months of experience in leading the projects, you don't need to be a formal project manager, or you don't need to be a formal in a position where you're leading or driving the projects. Even if you are a part of the support team, a lot of the activities that you guys do in support will be categorized in monitoring and controlling process group that we have. So there are 5 process group that we have across which your work could be divided. So there's initiating, there's planning, there's execution, there's monitoring and control, and there's closure. If you are in support, then most of your work will either be in execution and a lot of it will fall in monitoring and control. So you could still position your work into those process groups, and you can also take the exam. I can also give you a number of examples where people from support have taken the exam and that has also benefited them. So the short answer to your question is no, you don't need to be a formal project manager. Even if you're in a support team or a support kind of an environment working on tickets, you can still sit for the exam. Does PMP take into consideration people management? Absolutely, 100%. A major portion of the certification is related to team, because you have your stakeholders and then you have your team members. So if you are a people manager, if you go back to one of my slides where I mentioned you are a functional manager, you're a team leader, if you are a project manager, if you are a technical person, so a lot of those things are directly taken into consideration in the workshop curriculum. So it 100% takes care into consideration the people management aspect of the day-to-day work that that all of us do. In fact, if you really attend the workshop and then analyze what things we have done, there's 3 domains that we have. There's people, process, and business. The people, which is the entire people management stuff, 50% of the exam questions are directly related to people management. 42% of the exam questions are related to process, and then the remaining 8 is coming from the business. So as you can see, PM has already recognized the importance of people management, and 50% of the questions are related to people management. So that's how important PMP considers people management to be. The other thing that we also look at during the workshop is I don't know how many of you have heard about Agile, or if anyone is working in Agile. There is a direct reference of Agile methodology for over half the questions. So you have got waterfall or plan-driven or predictive methodology, and then the other methodology is Agile. So 50% of the questions will be based on Agile. The remaining 50, or even more, could be for Agile. The remaining will be from waterfall or hybrid. So that's the other categorization of the questions that we have. Okay, what is the minimum score mark to pass the exam? Here's the trick. That's a good question. Now, if you look at the exam scorecard or the exam score sheet of PMP, there are no numbers on that report. So all it will tell you is either you are a pass or a fail. And if you are a pass, then it gives you your banding as compared to other participants on the 3 domains that I've mentioned. So people, process, and domain, and then it will rank you where you stand in terms of the rest of the population, and it will show you the position on that tracker. But there's no numbers which are mentioned on the exam score sheet. So the obvious question is, if there are 180 questions, how many questions should I answer correctly in order to pass the exam? Now, based on all sorts of feedbacks that are available on the internet, on PMI, through various channels, a safe zone would be anywhere between 75 and 80% of the questions. So if you are able to answer 75 to 80% questions of 180, you are in a safe zone. And hear my words, I'm not saying that it guarantees you that you will pass the exam. All I'm saying is you are in a safe zone. Now the trick here is, as I mentioned, between people, process, and business, there are a certain number of questions, like 50% for people, 42% for process, 8% for business. You have to pass a certain number of questions within each of those domains. If you go back to our university mentality, business is only 8% of questions. So I'll forget business. I'll focus only on people and process. 92% of the questions, I'm through. unfortunately it doesn't go that way. You have to pass a certain number of questions in all the three domains, and that's how you are able to pass the PMP exam. So that's the answer to your question. So no minimum scores, but by and large, if you are within that 75 to 80% zone, then you are in a safe zone. Now, what we also do is, as part of the ProThoughts training material, we also provide you with 5 mock exams that will help you in your preparation for the PMP certification. So what we generally, and during the workshop, we'll kind of discuss all of these things at length. What we do is, I generally don't encourage you guys to sit for the mock exams, as soon as the workshop ends, or before even completing your exam preparation. The intention of those mock exam is you have to go through your preparation and you have to attempt those 5 mock exams as if that's your final exam, which means that you have to sit in one place for 4 hours and attempt those 180 questions in one go. Don't attempt 1 hour in the morning, one in the afternoon, one in the evening, one at night. If you do not have 4 straight hours, don't take that mock exam. Only sit for the mock exam when you are guaranteeing that you will be able to find 4 hours from your schedule in one go. That's how you should be utilizing the mock exams. So those are some of the things that will also go through during the workshop. So the second part of your application process is, there's, as someone had asked, there's an application that you have to put in, which basically documents all the things that you have done as part of your roles and responsibilities, what's the duration, and then the way PMI considers this duration, it has to be non-overlapping 36 months or non-overlapping 60 months. I'll just explain what non-overlapping means. Let's say that you have a project that runs from January till March. So January, February, and March. And then there is another project that starts in February and completes in April. So one project is January, February, March. And then the second project is February, March, April. So if you look at it from a project-wise perspective, so project 1 is 3 months, project 2 is 3 months. But what PMI does is, PMI is not going to consider it as 6 months. PMI will only consider it as 4 months: January, February, March, and April. So that's what I mean by non-overlapping 36 months or non-overlapping 60 months. The other question I generally get is, you might be having 15 or 20 years of experience, so you don't need to document all of that. You start with your most current assignment, go back, let's say 5 or 6 years, and you can very well end that application. You don't need to document your full working history. So they go with your first 5 or 6 years of your professional career, starting today and going back in the past. Okay, so even people who are above us, in case we have a tough bosses, how to deal with such people, is that handled in PIP? Absolutely. So it not only deals with how you handle your team, but it will also give you a lot of insights of how you deal with your management, with your bosses. How do you kind of make sure that you are going to keep them happy? Because give or take, they are the ones who will control a lot of things in your career, in your promotion cycle especially. So there will be a lot of emphasis on how to deal with management, how to deal with sponsors, how to deal with executive management. So a lot of these things will also be covered in the workshop content. What happens to those who fail the exam at their first attempt? Okay, so one of the things that I generally talk at the start of the workshop itself is, there is no second attempt for us. My intention is to make you guys sit and pass the exam in the first attempt. I'll just give you some numbers. We have trained about 150 to 200 people so far. To my knowledge, there's only 3 people who have taken the exam in the second attempt, or there's one who actually took it in the third. But barring those, every single person that I've interacted with has passed the exam in the first attempt with decent scores. So to me, failure is not an option anymore, and we'll just get you prepared in such a way that first option is the only option, and you pass out with flying colors. That's how we will get you ready for the exam. Okay, what else? Yes, so let's go back to our deck and we'll finish it up. And I'm sure you guys might have more questions once we go through the deck. So the second step in the application process is how you complete your application. There's few references that you will have to mention. If your application gets selected for an audit, for example, they come back asking specific questions. Okay, you have mentioned that you have completed your engineering degree from University of Mauritius. Okay, put a soft copy of the degree certificate and things like that. So it will be on the spot questions that they will be asking, and you have to just upload those documents and your audit is through. Okay, how many PDUs are required to renew my license once I have passed the exam, and what is the renewal period? Okay, just hold on to that question for a few minutes. Let me finish this, and I'm going to come back to the maintaining certification question. Okay, and then the third thing obviously is you complete and submit your application. So I'll again give you a slight glimpse of what we do in the workshop, just to make you familiar with how we are going to run the 4 days of workshop. So here is a slide that I have pulled from one of the decks that we use for the workshop. This is an important topic from an exam perspective because it talks about the baseline, the cost baseline. It is one of the important baselines for monitoring your project performance. So one is your scope baseline, cost baseline, and time baseline or schedule baseline. So within these three baselines, you will be monitoring and controlling your project, because if one of the three knowledge areas of your project, which is either a scope, cost, or time, is off track, then it is not considered as a successful project. So that's how important cost baseline is. Now, if you look at it purely from a project management concept perspective, these are standard terms and definitions that we generally use. But the way we will be looking at it, cost baseline, is I generally discuss cost baseline with a parallel activity that all of us do in our personal life. I'm sure all of us must be doing financial planning for your individual life, for your personal life. So I compare the cost baseline with the financial planning exercise that all of us do for your personal life, and that's how I'll try and relate. That exactly will help you to cement this concept in your head. After we do that comparison, there is no way that you will forget what a cost baseline looks like. So there is a lot of relevant stuff that we will be going through that will help you relate with what the PMI is asking you versus how you kind of understand the concept with easy relatable examples and all of that. uh, and then moving on, this is what the scenario is in Mauritius right now. So on the right hand side of the slide, I've generally attached this sheet, and I also share it in the workshop. This is a file called as PMI fact file, and this is as of November or end of November 2023. So it's probably few more numbers that will get added in December, but by and large it should be the most recent. Now if you go through this slide, these are all the certifications that PMI offers. So you go through DSSM, these are all disciplined agile. You look at CAPM, PMI, ACP, CP, and here is PMP. So suddenly there is a jump in the PMP. There's 1.46 million professionals globally that are PMP certified at this point in time. And look at the rest of the certification. They are still in thousand. None of the other certifications has even crossed the 100K mark, whereas PMP is sitting at 1.4 million. That's how standout the PMP certification is. And if you come back to Mauritius, these are some of the numbers I have pulled as of December 2023. So the same trend that we see globally, you can see on the slide in Mauritius as well. So there are a lot of professionals who have completed various certifications offered by PMI, but of those, 288 are active PMP certification holders. So it's kind of in line with what we have globally, and then how you can also try and relate it with the guys in Mauritius. An interesting statistics though is going to be If you look at the PMP numbers itself, about 288 active certification holders, more than 50% of these 288 have come in the last 5 to 7 years. That's how aggressively Mauritius is adopting PMI certifications. In 2018 or 2019, we started with the PMI Mauritius chapter, who is like an official representative of PMI in Mauritius on the island, and then they do a lot of these activities throughout the year. There's a annual conference that we have. We did last year's conference at the docks. This was done in October. Ashish, who is one of the co-founders of ProThoughts, was one of the speakers at PMI Mauritius chapter conference. Rajesh was there. He also did a disciplined agile workshop after the conference. So we have got a lot of collaboration interaction also going on with PMI Mauritius chapter. So that also helps you in further networking with the other professionals on the island. Okay, so with that, I'm going to come back to this question on PDUs. So what generally happens is, after you pass the certification or pass the exam, the certification is valid for 3 calendar years. Uh, so the obvious question will be, what happens after 3 years? So what you have to do is, within those 3 years, you have to gather what PMI calls as PDUs, or professional development units. Now, the idea of having these PDUs is what PMI expects all of us is to make sure that we continuously upgrade our knowledge and keep ourselves up to date when it comes to the concepts. And PMI basically expects us to attend a lot of training sessions, attend a lot of webinar, attend a lot of collaboration events, attend a lot of networking events. Uh, if you remember, I just mentioned the annual conference. If you attend the PMI annual conference in Mauritius, you get 8 PDUs. Every month, ProThoughts does a monthly webinar on different topics. If you attend this ProThoughts webinar every month, you get 1 PDU. So if you break it up, there's 60 PDUs for a period of 3 years, 20 PDUs 1 year, 8 PDUs annual conference. That's how simple it is. So maintaining and managing your PMP certification is not that difficult. So that's how the maintenance part does. Once you complete those 60 PDUs, there's a renewal fee of $60 which you have to pay, and then your certification is automatically renewed for another 3 years. Then you have to repeat the same 60 PDUs cycle. If for some reason you are not able to gather the 60 PDUs in those 3 years, PMI gives you an additional 6 months to complete those 60 PDUs. In spite of that additional 6 months, if you're not able to gather the 60 PDUs, then your certification stands void, which means that then you will have to sit for the exam again. If you're able to gather 60 PDUs over a period of 3 years, which is not difficult at all, you can just do it in the 3 years. I just recently renewed my certification in December of 2023, and now my certification is renewed up until 2027. So that's how it is. The other interesting fact I'll share with you guys is, I had attended this very same workshop back in 2014. At that time, it was conducted by Ashish, who is the co-founder of ProThoughts. Is the same guy who delivered the Disciplined Agile workshop in Mauritius last year. So I can assure you that the content that you will be getting in this workshop is tried and tested. I myself am a product of this workshop. So that's how easy it is for me to relate to a lot of things that you can see. So I took the workshop in October of 2014. I sat for the exam in 2015, January of 2015, and I passed it in the first attempt. So that's my story about the certification. Okay, I missed the first 20 minutes. Can you please share the slides for reference? I'll just check that with Namita. But Anusha, what you can do is, if you have any questions, you can feel free to call me. I'll just share in my email ID. So feel free to reach out to me, and then we can have a quick chat as well, in case Namita is not able to share it for some reason. But that's my email ID. Feel free to reach out to me anytime. Okay, are there any exams for renewal? No, there are no exams for renewal. You have to gather 60 PDUs and then pay a renewal fee of $60, and your certification is renewed for another 3 years. So there's no exam required. As I mentioned, if you miss the deadline of 3 years plus additional 6 months, then only then your certification is void. Then you have to redo the exam. But otherwise, in most cases, it's not needed. Okay, and then as part of one of the webinars I did, this is what's happening in Mauritius in the next few years. So the intention of sharing this is the project management scenario in Mauritius is really picking up, and now is the time to get certified and make sure that you are able to gain the most value of certification like PMP. So that is the scenario, and then this is the details of the upcoming workshop. So we've got two between now and May. There's one that we are doing in February 17th, 18th, 24th, and 25th, and then there's one more that we will be doing end of April, beginning of May. So 27, 28, 4th, and 5th. There's one more for later in July, but these are the two recent that we'll be doing in the next 3-4 months. And then I'm sure most of you guys have already interacted with Rajesh. So he's our go-to guy. If you have any questions around payments, registration, if you want to enroll for the workshop, he's your guy. He's also there on the workshop on the session right now. Feel free to contact him, and he will get things expedited as soon as possible. And then if you have any other general questions, feel free to drop emails at ProThoughts or Finanotech. But I think if you're going to call Rajesh, he will kind of get things moving fairly quickly for you. So, okay, so I think we are almost at the top of the hour. I do have a lot of questions that we have already discussed or answered. Anything else that you guys have for today? Any other questions that you feel, okay, is the workshop sufficient to prepare for the exam? No, the workshop is one of the mandatory thing that you have to attempt. There is a 3 months preparation that you have to go with the help of the book that we will be giving you, and then you are going to be exam ready. Workshop attendance is not going to help you in passing the exam unless you're like 20-25 years of experience and you're using hardcore project management in your day-to-day activities. But workshop is one of the mandatory requirements, and this workshop will enable you, empower you, give you all the tools, help you in coming up with all the strategies that are required to answer the question. There is a dedicated effort that is required from your end for at least 3 months, which we discussed, 2 hours every day, 3 months. And once that is done, you are going to be exam ready. So this workshop will give you the training material. It will help you in identifying how to prepare, what to prepare, and all of that. And that's how you'll be able to successfully pass the exam. Okay, what else? Any other questions that you would want to check? So I'm just going through the list. I'm just making sure we have answered everything on today's session. Yeah. Okay, so Namita has just launched a poll. Make sure that you answer those questions, and then that will help us to gather some of our statistics for the webinars. And as I mentioned, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Rajesh. Drop me an email. We can have a conversation as well. Do not hesitate to message me. And yeah, I look forward meeting all of you in the February workshop. So all the best, guys, and keep in touch. I don't know, Rajesh, you want to mention anything else? I've already enabled your voice chat.
Yes, thank you for your time and efforts for this webinar. And thank you to all the attendees and participants and all the support we got from the back office. Yes, I'll be available offline to all the participants for any further queries, doubts, and assisting in the registrations. feel free to contact me through WhatsApp or through a phone call.
Yeah. And as I mentioned during the session, there's a spot offer for all the attendees of this workshop. If you guys enroll for any of our upcoming batches, you get 1,000 rupees discount immediately, either for February or for April batch. So, make sure you make the most of this offer and get your enrollment forms from Rajesh and just fill it out. Okay. Thanks everyone. Thanks for joining the session today.